How's everyone doing today? Good. Good morning. Good to see everybody. As William said, I'm Kyle Lawrence. I serve as Vice President of Voluntary Benefits for Marsh & McLennan Agency in the Mid-Atlantic. And I have spent really the better of my 23 years, kind of what you all used to refer as the dark side of employee benefits, voluntary benefits. So what I hope to do today is, and I'm sure the majority of you are sitting out there going, what the heck does voluntary benefits have to do with cost containment strategies, right? So I'm hoping that in my brief period of time, you will have a different perspective on voluntary benefits, that you'll be able to walk out maybe with some new ideas about how to utilize voluntary benefits to really help maybe drive down costs and really integrate with your overall strategy. So what I want to do for my brief time up here today is really just kind of, quickly go through how we've arrived at where we are today with voluntary benefits. Two, kind of just touch on what's really driving this renewed interest and this conversation around voluntary benefits, but really spend the bulk of my time really kind of going through some examples of how our clients have truly integrated voluntary benefits with their core strategy and really helped drive down some of the costs. So how did we get here? Kind of the evolution of voluntary benefits. And I think the cavemen are appropriate for this. You know, you all, you know what the perceptions were out there for years. You know, these products were mainly offered to small employers. Eventually, the larger employers began to kind of offer these products. They were individual plans. Now we transitioned to group platform products so that they function more like your traditional group life, vision, dental products like that. We had agent assisted. Remember the agents? Go see the agent in the dark room, back room, if you're interested in these products. So that has changed into where we've morphed into where it's more self-service, electronic enrollment, lots of other video support out there rather than having to have an agent there talking about these benefits. And we went from non-integrated, where again, these were an afterthought, to where you all as employers are beginning to truly bring this to the forefront and develop a strategy of how it can kind of complement the overall strategy. So what are the three drivers? Why are we here today? One, the obvious healthcare reform. You know, you all have had to make some pretty serious changes to your medical plans. Some of you are trying to do that in order to prepare for 2020. We also are living in an age where the workforce is the most diverse in history. You all as HR professionals need to continue to have some recruitment and retention tools in order to attract employees. Our employees are asking for more changes because there is so much diversity. You know, they want to have the ability to kind of customize their benefits, to personalize their benefits. Everyone's needs are different. And, you know, with the makeup of the workforce today, really the three generations, each generation has their own needs, has their own sets of priorities. And the scary thing is up here is that the millennials are going to make up 40% of the workforce in 2020. I don't know if I'm ready for that. But, and then the third reason why the voluntary benefits are kind of on the forefront now, really it's about financial well-being. I mean, you all understand, your employees are being stretched. I mean, we've asked a lot of the employees over the last 5 years. I mean, look, the average health cost or average contribution has risen by more than 50%. You know, the financial impact of a serious illness or accident, it's pretty astounding when you think about those figures. You know, 76% of all Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and 50% of people have less than $1,000 on hand to cover unexpected medical costs. Those figures are amazing. And as you all know, especially those in the HR world, financial stress, if employees are stressed financially, you know, that can lead to increased absenteeism, which affects productivity. So let's spend a little bit of the last time talking about how voluntary benefits have worked with some of our clients. I want to spend some time citing three examples of some strategies that we helped implement with the clients. And I think what you're going to find is that because they began to truly look at the voluntary benefits differently and integrate it into an overall strategy, that it helped affect the bottom line. So we're going to talk a little bit about how voluntary benefits helped increase migration to higher deductible health plans. We're going to talk about some examples about how we incentivize the employees to go have their annual physicals done, to get their biometric screenings done that many of you are doing. Encouraging the employees to use lower cost medical facilities, and really how we've kind of changed our philosophy about how we look at voluntary benefits, in that we leverage voluntary benefits many times to make sure that you all have some additional resources available to you to help with education, to help empower your employees, and also maybe to reduce the administrative burden and costs that you guys have with managing your benefits package. So example one, we had a client, financial institution, about 400 employees. They obviously, senior leadership said to them, listen, we have got to start eliminating cost with our medical plan. And this client also had to worry about the potential effects of the Cadillac tax. So they had to drive down medical costs. So year one, they, like many of you, introduced a consumer-directed health plan. But I think, at the conclusion of year one, they had maybe 20 people move to that plan. And primary reason was employees were concerned about the exposure to higher deductibles. So the big challenge was, how do we move those people over to that plan so that we can lower our overall costs? So we came up with a strategy. This client had not offered voluntary benefits in the past. So this client decided, we're going to have an employer-paid critical illness and hospital indemnity product for all employees who move to the HSA plan. They saw participation go from 20 people up to 40%. Now, am I saying voluntary benefits affected that movement? No, of course not, but I think it helped because I think it played with the employee psyche a little bit to think, listen, I have this exposure, this additional exposure, and I'm now going to have something that could help me with my out-of-pocket expenses if I have a serious illness or accident that causes me to go to the hospital. Okay? They also offered the same plans on a voluntary basis, found great participation with the rest of the employee base. So again, they increased the migration to 40%. The medical spend was lowered by $250,000 in this client. Example two, we talked a little bit about how do we incentivize our employees to go have their annual screenings, to have the biometric screenings done, and to maybe also begin to use lower cost facilities and not rely on the emergency room so much. So this is a manufacturing client, 250 employees. Their big objective obviously was to lower the claims costs through encouraging employees to live a healthier lifestyle, and to also make sure that they were being steered or encouraged to use the lower cost facilities. So even though they were having an annual biometric screening event that they were paying for, they still found the majority of the employees were not going through that. As you all know, if we can get employees to go to biometric screenings, to have their annual physicals done, ultimately it will lower your claims cost. Eventually it will. So with this one, we also had very heavy use of the emergency room really for minor issues. So the solution. Here we also introduced two voluntary benefits that included a health screening benefit. And I think most of you are well aware that these benefits do have these types of features attached to them. So what it did, for those employees who went to have their biometric screening done at their employer, they were paying for it, they received money back on this voluntary plan for having that done. And we actually saw, believe it or not, the next year, the participation through the biometric screenings went up to over 90%. Again, can we attribute all that to voluntary benefits? Probably not. But I think just that incentive, the $100 that these employees were getting back for having this biometric screening done, maybe pushed it over the edge. We also saw an uptick in spouses and dependents having their screenings done. We also, in this situation, we tweaked one of the benefits to encourage employees to go use their primary care physician and urgent care for minor injuries. And what we also saw was a downturn in the amount of people going to the emergency room for very, very minor issues. And finally, the last example I want to kind of discuss with you is kind of similar to the first one, but this is really more focused on, our change in philosophy around voluntary benefits and how we kind of believe that we can kind of leverage some of the participation to support you all through communication and enrollment support. So here you had a very large client, scattered all over the place, 2,000 employees, 2 HR professionals to manage 50 locations in 7 different states. You think that they were taxed at open enrollment time? So they had a hard time just communicating to their employees. So we had to figure out a way, how do we educate the employees? How do we engage them to better understand their benefits and increase awareness, especially in their lower cost options, again, to help the company maybe save some money. So again, we brought to this organization a solution, an enrollment education solution that focused on providing a team of educators, both through a call center and both through on-site, to go and sit down with every employee at open enrollment. They talked about all their benefits. They talked about the new HSA plan that was being rolled out, voluntary benefits. Again, we had a designated call center during the open enrollment, customized communication pieces that were provided to every employee pre and during the open enrollment. And again, the result here was you had increased participation across the board in all their benefits. The employees actually walked out of this and 95% felt like they had a better understanding of their benefits. The funding of this was all done through leveraging the revenue from the voluntary benefits. And I put the total savings up here again. This is not the total savings administratively, though I think it can be equated to that. But again, because the employees better understood their benefits, there was more movement to the high deductible health plans, which ultimately saved this organization nearly $300,000. Plus, all the time and hours that HR was normally spending trying to do the travel and coordinate the open enrollment, they were freed up to do things that are really that they do on a day-to-day basis. So, as I wrap up this, I want to kind of talk a little bit about, as you begin to kind of look at voluntary benefits differently, as you begin to build your voluntary benefits package, there's some things that you need to do, some best practices to kind of make sure that you are truly having a successful rollout or integration. Have your consultant team, first and foremost, conduct a demographic analysis. Take a snapshot of your workforce. See what the makeup is, both from salary, tenure, age, so that as you're evaluating voluntary benefits, you can kind of pick things that are really truly appealing to your workforce. Have your consulting team complete a thorough plan evaluation. Use a consultant like Marshall McLennan Agency that does kind of truly select plans and has a dedicated division that focuses on voluntary benefits. Have effective communication. When you roll out voluntary benefits, integrate it into your core communications. Show your employees how these benefits can complement the medical and how it possibly could help them mitigate some additional out-of-pocket costs. And again, be very mindful of the different generations. We all learn differently. We all like different ways of communication. So as you're communicating, have multiple channels for that to appeal to the different generations. And really more importantly, make sure as you're building your voluntary benefits package, have a phased implementation strategy. Just don't throw everything out at employees at one time. They're not going to understand it, and they're going to get confused. So kind of pick 1, 2, maybe 3 products every year, and every year renew, kind of take a fresh approach. Renew your voluntary benefits package to kind of give employees more options every year, and again, the ability to kind of customize and personalize the benefits. So again, in my limited time, I've kind of maybe given you a fresher perspective of voluntary benefits. Again, not just people that are selling product, but really truly how our philosophy has changed and how we're helping some clients really truly bring this into the overall strategy and really help kind of drive down some costs in the meantime.